First off, we just want to thank everybody. Last week's show was really amazing. We brought Carrie on. I probably got a dozen messages from people just exploring what we talked about, which is grief, suicide. It was a really heavy subject. So if any of you want to talk further about that, feel free to chime in. But just want to thank you for all chiming in here. And yeah, this week's topic was interesting because the week went by and we are like, what are we going to talk about? And so Albert actually had some great suggestions on this, and thought it was a great topic because I think a lot of the audience is your age, Albert. I think they're under 30. I'm 52, and but we're still dealing with this. We're still men, and we still that's why we brought this project to everybody because it doesn't matter your age. We're still men, and men operate differently than women. And one of the things that I actually talked to Albert about today, as we brought up, is like how and I'll ask this to the audience, like, do you know what the difference between men and women and their attraction? Like, do you really understand that part of it? Because we're attracted differently, both genetically and also just kind of how we're made up as human beings. And it took me about 50 years to figure this out because I didn't really understand, what love was and what respect was. And so our definitions are different. And so if I were to ask you, do you know what a man is attracted to? And most of the women may not. And so we're here to tell you because even talking to Albert, it was interesting our dialogue. Men, we're attracted by our eyes. So when we see things, specifically women, we see beauty, we see the capability of what could be. So that's why we're enamored by pictures. We're enamored by visual effects. We're imagining lipstick, how you dress. We're attracted to that. And you vice versa, you dress that way at times. And so that attraction is what we look for, is we are sensing smells, we're sensing visual eye contact, we're sensing what we're actually looking at. Women, on the other hand, they get attracted by words, not so much the physicality of men. That's part of it. I'm not disputing that, but words and what a man says to you and what he promises and what. So there's this dichotomy going on. And when I finally understood this just recently, by the way, there were some aha moments because I caught myself judging women differently now, or I was judging them before because of how they interacted with me and not knowing that I was the cause of it with my words, right? Either it was anger or it was excitement or whatever emotion it was. And yet me, I'm still visually attracted to that person, and there was a disconnect. So it was actually I just kind of fell into this concept of understanding what when men and women are attracted to, and then I was also supported by just different outsources that I've seen online and so forth. But but yeah, so for me, I've always been attracted to women. I've always been attracted to a certain type of woman, the physicality, the look, and so but I also recognize in my role that a lot of women were attracted to me by potential, by where I was going, by how I was built, by how I talk, by the confidence. And so I think those play major roles in how we attract our mate.
Yeah, you made a really good point on
of what's experienced. And you know this, and I'll share it with you, but my 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 mom left really young. I saw a lot of violence as a kid. I never felt nurturing by a woman. And so I think I developed the trait of being the nurturer because I gave away what I craved. I craved I craved attention. I craved intimacy. So I gave it. And the first person I gave it to, uh, real intimacy, honestly, it was as you as kids, which is really interesting because I didn't have that. And so going to male and female, it's interesting how I also treated you and Kaylee different. Alyssa wasn't in the home as much, but even intimacy that we had is as a boy, it's different. I treated you different than how I treated Kaylee. I was more nurturing to her. I was more forgiving for her. Um, I was more understanding with her. And with you, because you're a boy, there was less of that. And it's just interesting how those play into how we parent, how we show up. And so going back to how we're attracted is, I think innately there's some characteristics we all have that we're not aware of. You know, again, like I've always been attracted to women. There's a certain type, and it's. But here's what's shifted in my life. I'm still attracted to that, but now I have more sensors up because now the woman has shifted. Their needs have shifted. I was talking to someone last night, had a friend, and we were talking about this. She's like, I don't really need a man. And I go, I know, that's the crazy part. She's like, I'm independent. I pay my own bills. I've been single for X amount of years. And so they have to come into my life and to kind of be a part of what I'm doing. It's just interesting though, because what I was trying to tell her, understand, I go, do you know what a man's role is? She really didn't know because she's widowed and she's been engaged and so forth. But I go, a man's role really is to protect and provide, and it's to be supportive. But if you haven't had that for years, it would be really hard for you to embrace that. And she got triggered. She got triggered by that. Oh, whoa. She got triggered by that. And I asked her, I go, what just happened? Because I saw her shift. And she's like, yeah, you hit a nerve. I go, well, what happened? She goes, well, the thought of being protected just seems weird to me because I've never had anybody protect me before. Isn't that fascinating?
It's what's interesting too.
Well, and I'll bring this up. I love the point because the confusion is causing more confusion. Dating in this world, in this new world, think about this. Dating in the 1970s and 80s, way different. Social media wasn't there. We didn't have access to the world. We had access to geography, right? Is that you know, that's my train of thought. That dating was more of if I'm going to be with you, right? I'm going to look at everything great about you and I'm going to ignore the flaws that you have. Like I'm going to be with you no matter what. This new age of dating, it's teaching everybody how to get divorced because fundamentally it's like we're dating. I'm part of the pool as well, right? We are dating and we're looking at everybody's flaws. And the older that we are, I mentioned this earlier, is we're creating Frankenstein. We have all these relationships we've been a part of, and we're taking all the good parts and we're trying to create the ideal version of who we want. And so anything that's not this ideal version now gets swayed away. I'm going to go find, and now, but then what's causing is causing chaos. It's causing mistrust. It's causing monkey branching. All these things as opposed to looking at an individual and say, here are the great things, the 100 great things. And yeah, you have a couple things, but I can live with that. Now we're like, you have a lot of great things, but I want to make sure that we don't magnify these one or two things. And then they magnify it. So these one or two things are now the red flags as opposed to looking at the 100 other things that you're great. And I think that is causing a mass misconception and mass misunderstanding and mass mistrust because everybody, or generalizing, everybody's looking for a way out, not a way in. Yeah. Okay. Great question. I'm telling you, up until, and I don't know if I'm over it, by the way, subconsciously, but I can tell you when I was married to your mom, and this is, I think, what happened even before we got married and just relationships leading up to. I'll say, let's keep your mom out of it. Before I got married, every single woman that came in my life that I dated, I self sabotaged all those relationships because my view was, if my own mother, my own mom, never loved me, how can you, as a woman, ever love me? And I think I portrayed that in a way where I did everything in my power to kill that relationship or someone. I've had a couple of women madly in love with, like madly in love with when I was younger. And I completely blew those up because I didn't know how to hold that. Because again, if my mom left me and made a decision she'd rather have drugs and men over her kid, how could I ever think to ever trust? So now what's happened now is even though she's in my life now, that wounding has gone down. It's really, really, really small. I don't know if it's still part of my psyche. It might be, but I know that it has less impact because now I've made my own decisions and my value and what I bring and who I am. And yet I'm still alone in my life right now, right? I'm single. And I don't know if it's because of my energy or the right person has come. I have no idea, but I don't view relationships in that same way. I actually view them as empowering now, where I look forward to them and I don't mistrust the person in front of me. The person in front of the woman, they make their decisions based upon where they're at. It has nothing to do with me. I think for years making them, I was being the victim. And so I was like, well, instead of you hurting me, I'm going to hurt you. And that's what I did. No. You brought up a great thing because you and I talked about earlier, like, men and women, again, biologically, we love differently. Our love is different. Okay. Women love lots of things, and there's different levels of love that they have, right? But the ultimate love that I've seen women have is their children. That's the ultimate love. It's not their significant other, it's the ultimate, what I've experienced. I may be wrong, but that's what I've experienced. Because, because there's this attachment that they have with this child, and it's this bonding. Men love way differently. We don't get to bond with kids. So when we are in love with a woman and we make that, women don't understand it. So there's a threshold there. There's this line. And we decide that we're all in, we're committed. Once we go past that line, what men do differently than women is we're willing to die for you now. I don't know where it's coming from. We're willing to die for you. That little, that big little step, I think gets misunderstood and it gets forgotten. And so the more masculine that you are, we may be more controlling because we're now looking to protect you, make sure you're safe. So this is where the confusion has. My boyfriend's controlling. Well, what are you doing? Are you going out and partying with your girlfriends? Are you doing things that maybe aren't in suit of a relationship? Because once a man's committed, now he's like, now I have to protect you. And it may be in the form of being a little bit more controlling because now he's crossed that threshold. I know I've experienced it to where, wow, like I'm willing to do whatever for this person. It takes a long time to get there. So I think that's really needs to be emphasized because women could love many things, but why breakups are so hard for men is because men do love harder than women. When men do, when they do commit, that's why it takes a long time for men to commit. When they do commit, now they're putting their life on the line and they're going to do whatever it takes to make sure you're safe. Yeah, I think there's some. I mean, there's a rabbit hole we can go to, but there's a lot of different reasons why I think men don't commit. A lot of it also has to do with, again, the protecting side is I think for me because I've been married. I'm 52. I've seen it now. But someone your age and your age bracket, the level the perception might be different because now you're looking at the rest of your life, right? Or commitment means whatever this to you. It may mean a loss of independence. It may be all these little things that may come into it as well. And it's also the belief system that they've had, the experiences they've had with other women. Maybe they've been heartbroken, or maybe the relationships they've seen their parents get into, and they don't want to follow that pattern. So there's all these, and some men are just non-committal because they're Peter Pans or little boys. They don't want to ever grow up. And so there's that part because part of growing up is being committed because when you decide to grow up to be a man, You no longer can act the same way as a boy. You can't go back and forth. There's a man and there's a fucking boy. They're way different. And the toxicity comes from that who's a man, who's a male, but he vacillates back and forth because he wants to play both ends. And so he one minute he want to act like a man, next time he acts like a little boy. That's where the toxicity comes from, not knowing his identity. But anyways, I'll digress. I think that's a great point you're making because all in all, you know, this commitment thing that men have, I know for me and my perspective and where I'm at in life, I'm 52. And so that next person that is going to come in my life, that is a commit, that is going to be a forever thing. I'm not going to live forever, right? Let's just be real. So I have maybe 20, 30 years, you know, grace of God, or I might have two, who knows? But my point is, that level of commitment, I understand now to where, yeah, it's going to take someone really special for me to kind of make that leap because it is an innate thing that I know I process.
When did you know that you stopped liking?
I don't think I've stopped, honestly. I think at times I still have this fantasy of a perfect woman. I don't think it goes away. I don't think it should go away because I think there's what you want and then there's the standards of what is available. I think it's okay to dream. I don't think it's good to pedestal a woman because this new age of women, they'll fucking crush you. Like once they know that you're this is where I'm going a little tangent here. There's what you we grow up with, which is treat women nice. I'm not saying don't do that, but there's what women say they want. It's what they do. They're two different things. They say they want the nice guy, they want the bad boy, then they want to turn him into a nice guy. That's what they want to do. There's all these little contradictions that they have, that female nature has, because they are such beautiful beings that they have the luxury of making these choices. And so you can't be the guy that's going to show up with flowers all the time, right? She's going to get bored of that. She wants to be, on her toes. She wants to be guest. She wants to be curious. She doesn't want you readily available. Again, it sounds contradictive, but that's what this new modern woman, they're just different. I think Erica says something here. How much of it's man versus woman instead of just difference in being a love? Nah, get away from love languages. Don't worry. Don't focus on love languages. We all have them. Men and women, we're different. We do like different things. I like personal touch, and I think I like gifts now. Has nothing to do with love language. We are biologically different. We love differently. When I'm referring to love, Erica, I'm not referring to the language you're just saying of love is completely different. Men don't love the same way. We don't want love from you the same way. We want respect and we want to be admired and we want to be desired by you. You want us to love you a certain way, which is nurturing, attentive, caring, all these things that you want. We don't want that same. So yeah, the love languages are completely different. That we won't go down a rabbit hole.
It's more of the concept of some of love languages. It's more of like more about
Well, we'll go down a rabbit hole there. Is, again, we talked before about what women want. They want safety and leadership, and men don't want that. We don't want that from our women. We don't need that. We want to be admired and we want to be desired and we want to be respected. So just those little fundamental things that we're looking for, right? And so, yes, pedestaling can't happen when you see an ideal mate or a version of what you want. The challenge with that at times is when we do pedestal women, is that sometimes we lose our values within ourselves. Like they say, for example, I'll take me for example. Let's say I start dating someone and I have a routine that I do in the morning, and all of a sudden I give up that routine for 3 or 4 days because I'm hanging out with this new chick. Well, now I'm sacrificing what I believe in that's made me who I am. And she sees that. And now she's like, it may be cute for a while, right? But then also now she's like, this guy's willing to bend his whole life that he created for me, she will disrespect me within months because the frame that I held is now flexible. And now they'll be start. So there's, it's important that men, when they come into, I know we're going down a relationship hole, but relationships in general is whatever frame they come in with, they have to keep that frame in who they are. You have to keep that frame because if you vary, then now there's confusion and now there's, we talk about safety and leadership. They want to feel safe and secure. And if you're now inconsistent with what you brought, you're no longer safe and secure. You're now a variable that they don't understand, and that causes confusion. Her name's Angela. I worked at Nugget Market, dude. I was 21 years old. Maybe I was 20 and she was 18. And she had this long curly hair, stunning. And I have a type, she was Portuguese, I think, or Mexican, right? I just was like, talk about pet. I was enamored by her. But what's interesting story is like she's coming to the store all the time. And I didn't think she had an interest in me at all, right? It's one of those, she come in the store, I'm a checker, and she comes in, but she'd always come to my line, right? Say hi to me. And one time I stay afterwards and on purpose, and I say, hey, what's going on? And she was really nice to me. I fell head over heels for her. And there was a connection. But here's where I got manipulated. Here's where the manipulation happened. I was so enamored by her, and I had game. I had plenty of game, but this one got me. Like, she got my goat, right? Is that I didn't ask questions. I didn't ask questions about her life. I didn't ask questions about her background. I was so focused on her that she gave me time of day that I just lost focus on all the other things around me. I found out she had just broken up with the boyfriend. The boyfriend was crazy. Like, the boyfriend was part of this gang. Like all these things that I'm not. And then and long and short of it is I played the fool because I ended up taking her out, even though she was kind of being coy. I was kind of forcing it. And I was going out with her, but she made, that was the first time I got friend zoned. Friend zoned, right? And I didn't know I got friend zoned though, because I kept taking her out. And then I remember one time I tried to kiss her and she denied me. And I was like, that's never happened to me before. And so, but I was just kept pursuing. Anyways, long story short, she ended up cutting ties with me because she got back with that guy. And then she came back because she wanted to hang out with me to make him jealous. That was my first time where I got literally played. She ended up getting pregnant by this guy. It's a long anyways. But that's a great example of me, Albert, not knowing myself, not knowing my boundaries, not knowing what I want. I got so enamored with the prize that I lost myself in the prize, not knowing that there were other things I was looking for. I visualized, right? I was so mesmerized by this woman that I just lost all common sense. So let me ask you this. So what do you think you struggle with as far as how your outlook with women are in general? Like, do you struggle with, because our backgrounds are different. You had a very nurturing mom. I didn't. So what do you struggle with as far as finding attraction, or what do you get hung up on at times when you're initially starting the process of dating somebody? Part of it also is you got to separate. You got to move to LA. I mean, if you're still in Sacramento, you probably still be dealing with that because that separation allows you to get months and months and months of you figuring out your own problems, managing your own problems, not having to have to report in to somebody on a daily basis, and so that allowed you to develop who you are in space, and then over time, now you're like, oh, okay, I need to go a little deeper, and that's where the growth comes from. No, yeah, I 100% I support you because I've seen so much growth in you just since you've been a realtor as well, like learning how to communicate, learning how to say what you want, what you need, like don't make assumptions, like don't be passive aggressive about things. But and all those traits get developed over time just through repetition. Yeah. I'll share something real quick on my mind. So I had an interesting perspective last night. So this gal I was with, we went on a few dates a couple years ago. And when I first met her, she was kind of standoffish, and I actually called her out. I go, "Do you even want to be here?" And she's like, "Well, you blah blah." And we ended up not talking, so we kind of reconnected. We talked last night, hung out, and she brought something to my attention for me that was really interesting. She's like, "You're the first guy. Like I felt your energy. Like your energy was way different." Because I asked her because she changed. She's just shifted a lot. She's just way more open. And I said, I gave her a compliment. Like you're just way more relaxed. You're way more confident. She goes, when you met me, I was going through a lot of stuff, but your energy was so raw that I think I was intimidated by it. And she's not the first person that told me that. So she's like, even now, like you're asking me these questions, I'm getting triggered by you because no one has ever asked me these questions before. And so there's that part of it, right? We're going down a rabbit hole where we're even intimacy, we're first attracted by something, but then we sometimes we could be alone for a long time and single and think we're getting better or healing, but you don't really heal until you have to interact with another human being to see how far you've healed, right? You could avoid and distract, but now you're coming someone coming at you, asking questions, and now you're like, whoa. And she got triggered with the, telling her I was a protector and a provider. She got triggered by those two things within about 5 minutes. But it was just interesting her reflection to me. She's like, "You have a lot of energy." I know I do, but hearing that from another woman, I've heard it from like four women so far. It's interesting that perspective of I'm more direct now. I'm less passive aggressive. I used to be way passive aggressive. I used to be people pleasing all the time. I'm not saying those are not good characteristics, but a lot of women aren't used to direct men. And I'm being very direct now because I just want to get to I'm very conversational, but I don't want to bullshit a lot too anymore, right? And so, but her giving that reflection was just a really powerful, another indicator that there's still some softening I got to do, but it was also indicator like she's like, don't change. I'm like, I'm not going to change because this is who I am now. But I've had to create this identity for myself over 52 years, right? Started dating early, young, right? But now this version of me now I'm asking questions I didn't ask when I was with Angela way back when I was 21 years old. I'm way more aware. I'm way more perceptive. I'm way more present. I'm way more mature. And it's taking me this long. And I think that is what the intimidating part is. She's 46. And so some women, maybe in the 30s, I'm not saying can't handle me, but I may be too much because of just my perspective in life now and how much experience I've had. being compared to the man mom. Well, that's a him issue. He shouldn't be comparing. That's 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 so. Ask a different question because the question behind your question is not solvable because the man is putting he's comparing his mom to you is what I'm hearing, and you can't do that. So rephrase your question if you can. No, I appreciate what you said, bro. Like it's funny. So on that story with Angela, I'll share this with you. Have you ever had an ex-boyfriend and his boys come to your work and threaten to fucking kick your ass? That's how much jealousy, dude. That happened to me 3 times in my life at Nugget Market, dude. I stories behind stories of ex-boyfriends coming in. I heard you're dating my girl. I'm like, yeah, so what? What are you gonna do, right? Like, we're gonna kick your ass. I'm like, in the store? You're gonna do it right here, really? So, so yeah, I was trouble. But no, what I get out of this episode, bro, more and more as we go down this rabbit hole, is I love the fact that we just get to do this. Like, what I love is you get to not only experience your dad being playful and reenacting his 20-year-old self, but that you get to see what your future holds and the type of man that you're going to be and you are now, which is an aware man who is making shifts and changes, but also is getting a bird's eye view of what 25 years can look for him and how much he can learn from his dad's failures and faults, from his experiences, because I have nothing to hide. I have all love and just all full disclosure. And for us to be able to share with people I don't even know on here, some people I do, but just talk real is really cool because I don't know many fathers who'd be willing to tell you stories like that on live TV and have fun with it to where yeah, it was I got fucking smashed. Like she broke my heart. Um, but I also went in there like deer in headlights, like wanting to be slaughtered, right? So, accountability is I was just so green behind the ears. I had no idea what the female nature was. I'll share another story about her offline to you when we're done. So that happened years later. But no, man, I love what we're doing, man. So I appreciate you asking questions and being on the call.
Thank you guys for doing it. Like, I want to say,
Yeah.
hopefully,